Hey y'all, so today we're going to talk about chassis and suspension and what's right for your next build. So we're going to start out with factory chassis versus aftermarket chassis, and we've got a great example right here. So we just pulled this factory chassis out from underneath a 1966 GMC pickup truck, same thing as a Chevrolet C10. So you can tell factory chassis sitting right here, and then this we have a brand new Roadster Shop Spec Series chassis for the C10 or GMC pickup trucks. So from the front to the back, you can see there's a lot of differences. The frame rails, the way they're welded, the suspension components. Even here, we've got the drivetrain in these. So you can go factory straight six, and we've got a brand new LS from Blueprint Engines, 6.2 liter, 500 horsepower, and we've got mated to a 4L65E automatic overdrive transmission from Gearstar. A lot of differences you can see front to rear on these things, and we'll get into talking about specifically why you should use one versus the other and what fits your budget and your build. All right, so the base price on these Roadster Shop Spec chassis, they start around $13,500, and then depending on how you've got them configured, they go up from there. So you can see just the frame rails, the suspension. I mean, these are fully boxed chassis, as you can tell, versus a C-channel chassis right here. So there's a lot more strength here. There's less deflection, and then it just keeps everything planted really nicely. You can tell the entire front suspension is redeveloped. So you got tubular control arms, you got better ball joints, you got better spindles. The entire suspension geometry here is way nicer. And one thing we like about these Roadster Shop chassis is that it's easy to adjust your front end alignment with the eccentric pieces right here, which is really nice. This thing has four-wheel drum brakes. And if you've ever driven anything with four-wheel drum brakes, you know they stop good about once. And then they start fading, and then good luck from there. This has got 13-inch drilled and slotted Bayer brakes on all four corners. So 4 piston calipers, really nice. Your stopping power is going to be just what we need for this. It's going to be a nice cruiser, a good driver truck. You can see here there's a rack and pinion steering on the front versus a traditional gearbox. So just the steering feedback, the ratio is going to be so much better. This thing's going to drive and handle like night and day different from the factory gearbox setup. Again, one of the big things in all these hot rods, trucks, cars, whatever, is the power plant, the heartbeat, right? So you can tell this tired old 6-cylinder was probably good and did the job it needed to do back in 1966 as a farm truck. Highway speeds are 45, 50 mile an hour, but if you get over here, we've got a 6.2 liter cast iron block, aluminum head LS engine from Blueprint Engines. Now this thing makes right around 500 horsepower straight out of the box just from them. And then back here, we've got a Gearstar 4L65E overdrive automatic transmission. So that overdrive really makes a difference on being able to cruise out on your highway speeds, but also let you have that lower first gear and let you be able to have the torque you need coming out of the hole for either towing or if you want to go do burnouts, do fun stuff like that. As we work our way back, you can see the frame. I mean, it's just so stout, like we had talked about before. I mean, you got a fully boxed frame, right? This is rectangle tubing. It's welded up really nice. I mean, all your body mounts are there. Your motor mount, it came with the motor mount, the transmission mount. One thing we like too on these is that you can see here, this is cut out for exhaust clearance. This is cut out for exhaust clearance. When we're getting these things built, and they've got the lower center of gravity, they got the right stance, you know, it gets a little tight under there and you don't want to see some unsightly, ugly exhaust hanging down underneath the truck. So this allows you to tuck that exhaust up really nice, bring it up and have it where it's not seen. So again, working our way back, you can tell just way stronger frame, a lot stronger chassis. And then back here, we went from a leaf spring setup to a 4-link with coilovers. We're waiting on the coilovers right now, but they'll be here at some point. But 9-inch forward rear end, 31 spline axles, whatever gear ratio you want. And then also the 13-inch rotors with the 4 piston calipers versus an open rear end, old wore out leaf springs, and then a drum brake setup on the rear. The other, I guess, added benefit that most people end up doing on these classic trucks anyway is relocating the gas tank. So just about all these old trucks, Ford, GM, whatever, the gas tanks were located right behind the seat inside the cab. So you can see here, this chassis came with a brand new stainless steel tank that fit right up in there. It comes in from the bottom, so on a maintenance and service side, you can drop it right out and don't have to worry about pulling the bed or anything. It's already got an EFI fuel pump module, so it just drop in, it's ready to go, fuel sending unit, and then fuel neck. So again, you can just step back and look at these two chassis and see how much better of a piece this is. And obviously, you know, this is 1966 technology, so you can't expect as much. But for a full build that you either want to drive around and enjoy, or hit the autocross track, hit the drag strip, whatever, you know, this is a great solid foundation to start out with. Not to say that you can't take your factory chassis, which a lot of people do, and upgrade the suspension and brakes and so forth, but in the end, this is going to be a nice package, reduces a lot of your labor, looks better, stronger, and we're actually just make the value of the vehicle worth more. All right, so we talked about the aftermarket chassis. Let's talk about a couple options for your factory chassis. As you can tell here, this thing is actually in pretty good shape considering how old it is and how these trucks were used back then. So there's two options again. You could either update your chassis with just factory replacement parts. You know, some people want just more of a factory restored, or they just want the nostalgia of driving these old trucks around like they were. Or you can get bolt-on suspension kits for these, such as Rytec. They make a bolt-on suspension kit that comes with tubular control arms, drop spindles, coilovers all the way around, new trailing arms, and then sway bars. And those are around $7 grand. But what you don't get with that are brakes. You don't get a new rear end, housing axles, gear ratio, and then you're still stuck with the factory steering box, which you can get upgraded steering boxes that give you a lot better response, but it's still not a rack and pinion system. So again, based on your budget, where you want to be, update this chassis with factory replacement parts. You can get a Rytec system, coilover system, or strict grip to get this thing down towards the ground a little more. Center of gravity is better, get it to handle, get it to ride better. It's just up to you, your budget, and what you want this thing to be like in the end. As you tell, there's multiple options out there. This is a Roadster Shop chassis. We do a lot of business with Scott's Hot Rods. There's Speed Tech, there's Art Morrison, there's multiple chassis manufacturers, just like there's multiple suspension manufacturers such as Rytec, QA1, Detroit Speed, etc. The good thing is there's plenty of options for you, different budgets. You just got to figure out what your skill level is, what you want to do, how much work you want to do, and then go from there. So we're a dealer for a bunch of those guys. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call and we'll help get you situated and get you riding like you want to. All right, so we just showed you a comparison side by side of a factory chassis and an aftermarket Roadster Shop chassis. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call or shoot us an email. We got more content coming, and thanks for tuning in.